Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Mykela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Mykela. I am very glad to have you here on my channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today we're going to discuss a few terms or ideas, and then we will add to your cave story. Our first term is uncouple. Uncouple means to separate two things that are joined together or disconnect something, especially a railroad vehicle that has been coupled to another, to the engine, or to become disconnected. Uncouple means to release the coupling or link between, disconnect, or to let go. An ancient meaning is to release hunting dogs from being fastened together in couples. Some synonyms are separate, divide, split, or disconnect. Today, it is usually used for trains or romantic relationships or marriages. But we have electronic links as well, so I can see uncoupling web pages as a use. One website usually links to something, and sometimes they say the link is broken, but if somebody deleted the link, it wouldn't be broken, it would be uncoupled. Now, how can we use this in our stories? Well, where do we need to disconnect things? If you have someone that parachutes in your story and the parachute gets caught in a tree, the person could uncouple themselves to fall the rest of the way to the ground, and hopefully he or she isn't too high up. After you jump a car with jumper cables, you can uncouple the batteries of the two cars. In the fourth book of Vampire Apocalypse by Derek Gunn, in one of the last scenes, a traitor to the humans uncoupled the last two train cars from the train and left those humans behind for the vampires to capture. So that is with the train. But you can have trains in your story. Now, if you're towing something and it gets too heavy or it gets bogged down, you may have to uncouple from it just to keep going. And a downed soldier, the story we're writing on, not this week, but you have horses coupled to the wagon, and that the people in that story uncoupled the horses and let them rest. We mentioned relationships or marriages, so divorce or breakup would be an uncoupling, and your story could be more of a drama, and you could have that kind of thing in there. Leave a comment below on something you can or do uncouple, or something you disconnect. Now, think of your stories. Can you alter that thing that you uncoupled in your life, or you uncouple in your life? Can you take that and change it a bit, alter it, and weave it into your stories? I'm sure you can. Now, notice I did not say unlatch. Unlatch would be like a lock or a purse or a gate. I'm talking about separating two things joined together. If you unlatch a gate, it is still connected by the hinges, right? So the splitting here is a little bit, but they are different terms. Our next two terms are illicit and illicit. Illicit, spelled ILLISET, means forbidden by law, rules, or custom. Some synonyms are illegal, unlawful, illegitimate, against the law, outlawed, banned, forbidden, prohibited, and half a page more. The first question for this is, whose laws forbid whatever it is. Is it the protagonist laws? Is it the antagonist laws? We need to know. You have to set up your society with what are the normal laws or the normal rules. Or your reader might not know what is right and wrong. In The Keys to the Kingdom by Garth Nix, the rules in the house, and that's the other dimension, kind of other time thing, they call it the house. The rules in the house are not always what you would expect. And the Dizens and people around are always explaining things to author all the time. And he's like, I would have never thought that. I don't know why that's a rule. But, so there's all these rules that he has to abide by that he would have never figured out. So as a writer, you have to decide if your characters participate in illicit behavior or they follow the rules. Now, our next term sounds very familiar, and it is the term I wanted. I just spelled it the other way, and Microsoft Word didn't underline it. The term is illicit, and is spelled E-L-I-C-I-T. So illicit was the I-L-L, and this is illicit. And it means to invoke or draw out a response, answer, or fact from someone in reaction to one's own actions or questions. Some synonyms are obtain, bring out, draw out, extract, evoke, bring about, bring forth, induce, excite, give rise to, and several more. An archaic meaning is to draw forth something that is latent or potential into existence. So if your setting is deep in the past, but not caveman, right? You could use this. And in our stories, I'm currently thinking of cops and robbers. Cops question suspects. Now, the lawyer on YouTube strongly advises to have your lawyer present, even if you're innocent, because they can twist what you say, or they could take a piece of what you say to where it makes it sound like you're saying that you're guilty when you're not. So you have the lawyer present, so you know what to say and how when you say things, people interpret them all kinds of ways. So you need your lawyer present. He advises that. Okay. But you see these shows where sometimes the cops play good cop and bad cop. So the suspect tells the good cop things. I don't want that. Okay. The suspect tells the good cop things. And these cops are trying to elicit a confession, or they're hoping to gain a lead in their case. But, of course, you could use this innocuously as well. You want to surprise somebody for their birthday, and so you just start, hey, what's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? What's your favorite this? And then you find their favorite color and their favorite flower, and then you set up the birthday setting with those things. So it could be innocuous. The morning sun elicits the morning glories to open. The sun's trek across the sky elicits the face of the sunflowers to follow it. Well, what kind of reaction does your alarm elicit in the morning? This morning, I snooze that alarm for sure. What's it going off for? I don't need to go to work today. I don't need it going off. So what kind of a reaction does your alarm elicit? Now, an enemy can elicit a response. A bully can elicit a response. A boss, coworker, a friend in need, all can elicit a response. A tough situation in your story can elicit an ingenious solution as a response. A murder mystery can elicit fear in the community until the murder is resolved. It could be in real life too, murder mystery. But in Idaho, they had the murder of the 4 students, and nobody knew what happened. And so there was a lot of fear in that small town until they caught or arrested the suspect. And they found the suspect. They arrested the suspect. Now, I don't know if y'all are watching true crime or not, but that suspect, it's been a couple years now, and he just pled guilty to all 4 counts of the murder and the burglary, which is the break-in, because he went into the house with the intent to commit the murder, so they had that tacked on. So the sentencing is going to happen soon, but the town was very affected. That murder, or those murders, elicited a response from the town, and it was so bad that they didn't even want anybody to clean up the house and re-rent it. They demolished the house where that happened. That was how strong that of a response that event elicited. So leave a comment on a response that has been elicited from you recently. Side note, try not to confuse illicit with illicit. They sound very similar. And Microsoft Word won't underline it for you. If you spell the wrong one, you aren't sure, then right-click on the word and scroll to synonyms. If you get illegal or unlawful, then you have illicit, which has the same first 3 letters as illegal. Hang on, my computer's doing something cuckoo. There we go. Now, if your synonyms are obtain or induce, then you have illicit. I'm not telling you which one to use, but just check it out. Make sure you have the right one. If you have the one you want, leave it. Otherwise, edit it. First draft is not a final draft. And, if you say it into your phone and you say it just a little differently, Google's going to spell it one way or the other. That doesn't mean you have the right word. But that brings us to our cave stories. First, remember that all works shared on the channel are copyright protected, so there's no worry. Share your works by sending in your writings to writewithmykela@gmail.com. I look forward to reading your stories and writing prompts on the channel. We are on part 24 of your cave story. We started working on this story in season 1, episode 25. And I listed the rest of the episodes in the description below. So if you want to go watch them in order, you can. When we started, we wrote about a scary cave, and we set the mood. We actually wrote about a peaceful cave first, and then a scary to compare the mood between the two. And now I also listed the plot in the description below, and if you are starting today, that is perfectly fine. Send it in for us to read on the channel. A side note that we started season 1, episode 25. When we came back, we wrote behind it. Then I think the next writing, I'm not sure, but I think the next writing we put in a front before the cave. So why did you go to the cave kind of thing. So go start writing today. Send it in for us to read on the channel. You can do it in the order we did it. You can write in the order that makes sense, whatever. To continue writing on this, if you're already writing, ask a question. Write a scene to answer it. Reread what you've written or what you wrote last time. Stop and define your characters to yourself so you know their history and what makes him or her tick. Ask yourself, what's the struggle? What's the outcome I'm heading towards? Have I made things too easy on my protagonist? Most often I can say yes to that question. I make it too easy. I have a hard time of getting into the antagonist's mind or get into the mind of somebody like Brian Koberger that could kill 4 people with a knife. Just, that I have to listen to those things on the Lawyer You Know's channel and on other channels like Lori Daybell. I listened to her interview with Nate Eaton and trying to get into that mindset. I will probably never do, but it's a perspective that, of course, I don't agree with. The perspective that maybe I can take that perspective and somehow put it in my story so that I can deepen and broaden my story. So, have I made things too easy on my protagonist? Probably. That's why I'm watching some of these things, reading books so that I can do these things. Remember, the most important thing is to have fun with your writing. If you don't like your story, edit it. Take out what you don't like. Enhance the parts you do like. See if you can create an intriguing protagonist with an active goal or problem and some high stakes and a ticking clock. You have to get this done, right? You can't just oh, well, I might do it next week. No, your characters need to act. So you need a ticking clock in there. You need these things to create a good story along with interrelated events that build to a climax. Pause the video. Add to your cave story or your story that started with a cave. Or start your writing today. And then come back and I will read what I added. Welcome back, writers. Now I will read what I wrote. The next several days, they had practiced linking to the cave or the pillars. Galera wanted the children to learn linking too, so she spent a lot of time with them. But she and the doctor discussed the boy with the broken leg linking and decided not to let him, even though Zalira had linked with him to the campsite. After 4 days, some more of Maverick's group linked to them with Donnie, and Donnie reported that it seemed that Maverick's sweeps were over for now. But from what he knew, all the bunkers had sealed their entrances, and none could get out. The group then discussed getting all the people out of the bunkers as their next priority, and Maverick thought it was best to think with the bunker leaders and let them know what was up. After Maverick did that, he gathered Commander Nyson, Commander Thurnall, Valera, Grant, Donnie, and a few others and told them the plan. The people in the bunkers would organize the supplies so that the person could link. I lost my place. Sorry, the computer is not cooperating with me. The people in the bunkers would organize the supplies so that the person could link back with people and supplies. But they decided that one person would link there with another person, and the other person would link back. They wanted the person linking back to be the more proficient one. They still didn't know how much energy it would take to bring back a group and supplies. Zalira and Missant were going to try first, and they were going to Maverick's bunker, while other pairs were going to other bunkers. After Zalira got the instructions, she and Missant walked to an empty area. In theory, they hoped when they linked back, it would be to the same spot. Before Zalira sat down, she started staring at the surrounding trees, and she started seeing the energy prints. She walked to a tree and put her hand on a print. Commander Nyson motioned to the group to wait. Everyone looked over. They didn't see the prints. They saw Zalira go to another tree and touch it. Zalira touched the third tree. and looked down at her hand. She looked up and around at the people. Lily, I need your hand. Dr. Lyson shrugged her shoulders as she glanced around all the faces. Several children had noticed, and they had headed over. Valera held up her right palm, and Dr. Lyson put her hand against it. Both women felt a tingling, and both pulled away and shook their hands. What just happened? Asked Dr. Lyson. I don't know, replied Valera. She motioned to the tree. I was checking out the prints. She pointed to the last tree she touched. That one felt like you. Dr. Lyson looked down at her own hand and looked at the tree. I don't see the print. I want to try, said Janie. Me too, said several of the young girls. Valera looked at Commander Nyson and then Maverick. I think we have a new game, and I want to do this before we go to the bunkers. Both men shrugged. What exactly are the rules for this game? Asked Grant as he glanced at Donnie. I will close my eyes, and those three girls and Janie will touch a tree. Started Valera. Once someone tells me they've touched the trees in our back, I will open my eyes and figure out who touched which tree. It certainly did seem like a weird game, and Mrs. said as much, but she too closed her eyes when Valera did. Dr. Lyson, Missant, and Kilry also closed their eyes. I don't need Missant in there. There's an edit right there. I said Missant said as much, but she too closed her eyes when Valera did. Then I just need to say Dr. Lyson and Dr. Lyson and Kilry also closed their eyes. There is an edit. Commander Nyson assigned people to watch who touched which tree, but afterward not to look at the tree. Maverick thought to the bunkers that they were taking a few extra minutes, but he didn't think to them about the game. One young girl touched the tree with both hands, but an older girl whispered something to her. The older girl lifted the young one up to touch the tree a little higher up. Commander Nyson smiled to himself and nodded his head. He thought that was a better test because the height wouldn't give it away. Once Commander Nyson told them they could open their eyes, Valera turned around and looked. She immediately saw all the new prints as they seemed to glow slightly brighter. Missant raised her hand to the golden dust she saw. I could see a path better than prints. No one else saw the dust, but Missant followed a path of dust. Valera went to a print and touched it. She again looked down at her hand. Valera turned back as she thought about who it felt like. She went to the older girl and held up her hand. The older girl placed her palm against Valera's as Dr. Lyson had. After a few seconds, both shuddered. That feels weird, said the older girl. Tell me your name again, said Valera. I'm Donata, said the girl. She pointed to Donnie. That's my dad. Valera nodded and turned back to the next prints. She went to the tree and pointed. These prints are small, but she trailed off and just placed her hands over both prints. She looked at the little girl that she felt like belonged to the prints. Did you touch two trees? Commander Nyson quickly stepped in front of the girl. Don't answer. Let her touch the other prints and see what she can learn. The little girl covered her mouth with her hand so she didn't giggle. Valera squatted partway down and placed her hands over the second set of prints. She stood up and held out her hands as she slowly turned around. This set was first, she exclaimed. Valera walked to the girl and held out both hands. Wait, said Grant. You've been holding your palms up. Does that matter? Valera shrugged. I haven't the faintest idea. The little girl placed both hands down on Valera's hands. Then she quickly raised her hands and ran in place as she laughed. She rubbed her own arms. This feels funny. Everyone laughed at her antics. Valera correctly matched all the prints, and Missant followed all the trails. Then Commander Nyson said, I'm touching the tree. You can watch. but I want to feel what is going on. He touched a tree. Zalira touched the print and held up her hands. Commander Nyson placed his palms against hers and then shook himself. I'm sure this is useful. I'll have to think about it or read my book. Grant and Maverick both said, what if someone entered our camp? They looked at each other and then at Zalira. I just see prints. I don't know who they belong to until I touch them. Everyone decided to think on that as the pairs headed to the different bunkers. Vincent and Zalira looked around. They were on the floor with wooden crates all around. They stood up as someone entered. All three jumped. The woman from Maverick's group said, I will never get used to seeing people just appear. Let me go tell Milton you were here. Zalira just nodded. Once the woman headed out, she looked around to all the crates. I hope they don't think I can do all these crates. Missy just shrugged. Zalira then inquired about how Missy felt, and Missy took her finger and spun it in a circle. Zalira knew she felt a little dizzy, but was otherwise okay. Soon Milton was back with a group of 8 people, including himself. He hoped that each person could hold onto a crate beside himself or herself all around the circle, and they wouldn't need to interlace fingers. Zalira raised her eyebrows. So you want me to take 10 people and 10 crates? I'm hoping, said Milton. Maldrake has been exploding things, and we need to get out as quickly as possible. Zalira didn't say anything else, and soon Milton had everything arranged. Zalira closed her eyes and pushed her energy through the crates to either side of her. It was definitely different than feeling people, and she took her time trying to feel everything in the crate. She thought she remembered that if you didn't remember to feel something, then it wouldn't go with you. She thought that had been about things in your pocket, but this was next level. Vincent sat and patiently waited. She was directly across from Zalira with 4 people between them on each side. She had her hands in the handles of the crates, and she instantly knew when Zalira's energy was going into her. She felt the vibration. Vincent closed her eyes and relaxed as much as she could. The next thing Vincent knew, there was a bright light all around her that she could see through her eyelids, and then everything was dark. Vincent opened her eyes. She glanced around them and looked at Zalira. Zalira opened her eyes. Well, we know where we are, said Vincent. Zalira glanced around. Why aren't we in camp? I don't know, said Vincent. Maybe people took up our space, so we came here. She shrugged. They explained things to the group, and then they headed out of the cave. The 4 men felt they could just pull a crate, while the 4 women teamed up with each other, and Zalira and Vincent teamed up to carry 3 more crates. One man said he could pull 2, but they still left 2 crates behind, and someone would have to come back and get them. They put the crates against the inside wall a little away from the cavern entrance. Okay, writers, that's what I'm adding today. That's 1,600 words. Leave comments on energy price. What you think they can use them for? Or will they be used against the people? Or maybe, this is what, while I was reading it, that I got this thought, that Zalira has to touch it to know that whose print it is or what have you. But Vincent was following the trail. So it might be better to see the dust, to see if there was dust that entered the camp. Because then you could say, okay, I don't know, I see the dust entered the camp and then it left the camp. It doesn't go to somebody in our group. So maybe that would be more useful. Leave a comment on what it feels like when somebody shocks you with static electricity, and if you think this is comparable or wholly different. Leave a comment on why Zalira's group ended up in the cave and not in camp. This is another time that this has happened, because when Jose came back, he came back to the pillars and then the cave and stuff like that. So he came back to different places. So there could be multiple reasons. And these people don't know yet, so the reader doesn't know yet. I haven't said anything yet, so I could play around with some ideas and see what I want it to be. Writing is so much fun. Don't forget to send in what you just wrote for me to read on the channel. Send it to writewithmykela@gmail.com. I would love to know what you found in your cave. Join me Friday for Chapter 4 of Princess in Norwin and Stagger Guard. Join me Tuesday for Jargon, some more jargon, and Part 18 of A Down Soldier. Visit my website, bymykela.com. Read some character bios. Send in your unpolished writings and chapters to writewithmykela@gmail.com. And leave comments on your favorite characters. Characters from anything. I'm still accepting chapters from any of the shared plots. If you hit like and subscribe and the bell notification, then we will continue to write together, and other people will have a higher chance of finding this video in this channel, since your likes will push the video out to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, please share it with them. This is Mykela with Write with Mykela. Bye for now.